Well, that's a wrap. RaiseFest 2025 is over. And let me tell you guys, why did I end up going to Phoenix, Arizona to a capital raising rock concert, an event that was put on by Hunter Thompson, a private equity firm, $100 million raise resume. I wanted to understand the game of money at a different level. I've been raising capital for the last 10 years. I've been raising millions of dollars the last 8 years. The last few years, things have kind of slowed down, just operating with personal capital. But I want to take the business, I want to have the team grow. We want to be able to take advantage of some opportunities with co living in the marketplace. And so I wanted to go to this event that cost $700 to buy a general admission ticket for nothing more than seeing if this might be something that I want to invest the 15, 20, or $50,000 to get on the inner circle and to really network with these private equity firm fund managers, syndicators, and the results are in. It was well worth it. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the industry. I had a chance to rub shoulders with some really old friends. I want to start by giving a shout out to my buddy Tanner Larson for letting me stay at his house in Phoenix, Arizona so that I could do this on a budget, but more importantly, that I could reconnect with a buddy. It was Tanner and I that got to know each other almost a decade ago at a mastermind event. And so being able to go back to his hometown, being able to be close to his house, be able to be comfortable with a private gym, a pool, being able to plunge in the morning. Tanner really spoiled me. His family really spoiled me. Shout out to him and appreciate it. I also had a chance to hang out with his business partner, Travis, and we got to be able to sit next to each other and really enjoy this event together, expanding our dreams, expanding the vision of what's possible in the raising capital space. Now, like I hinted here at the beginning, these events are like a rock concert, right? You've got these guys running around with lights all over them on stilts. You're waving light swords around in the air, really raising that energy. And I enjoy that, right? Motion causes emotion, and emotion causes action for us to do things with our life that can expand the possibilities of what's out there. And so I really enjoy going to these. I did not sign up for the upper level programs this weekend. Number one is I'm tapped out on masterminds right now. I'm in 3 different groups. I've spent a whole bunch of money this year already to be in these groups. I'm doing things like one-off events. We're doing a cruise here in a couple of months with the group. And so the calendar is really full in the masterminding and the networking department. But I will say I'm highly considering it in maybe 6 to 12 months as the business grows and as we expand and as we start to do more deals. So I really encourage you to look into Hunter Thompson, raisingcapital.com, RaiseFest. I think they might be doing Raise Camp here at the end of the summer and the fall time. So well worth it. Couple of takeaways for you. Number one, I'm always shocked, but I shouldn't be, of the power of being in the room. Now, here's a little bit of history and a little bit of background from me. Every time I go into these rooms, I feel like that 14-year-old child that moved from California to Washington State, and I walked into the room of a brand new high school. I was a loser. At least that's the story that I told myself in my mind. I didn't know anybody. I was very insecure. I was looking for validation. I was looking for acceptance, as most teenagers are. And I'm still ridding some of that emotion out of my body, of that feeling of being so alone in the room. And as I go to these events, I become more and more comfortable having these conversations, meeting new people. And now being in these rooms for over a decade, it is absolutely a joy to go into these rooms and see old friends. A gentleman by the name of Steven that I was at a mastermind with like 8 years ago. Had the opportunity to reconnect with him. Super cool. New friends, lots and lots of new friends, speakers that spoke on stage and had a chance to get to know them afterwards. There's a few people that spoke on stage that I didn't get the chance to speak with, but that I admire many of the things that they're doing in business and also in their personal life. I had a chance again to hear from Pace Morby. Sorry, Pace, forgot your name for a second. That was awesome. He always brings value. He always brings a feeling of community. He always leans into his audience and wants to give. Here's a different one. I've been following Cody Sperber for probably almost 2 decades on social media. I mean, arguably, at least the last decade and a half. He was the first person to have over 1 million followers on Instagram in the real estate space. So as a result, I kind of followed him. I actually kind of think that he's a little bit arrogant and kind of a jerk. But after hearing him speak on stage, having a chance to see him kind of interact there, I like him more because that is exactly who he is in person and in real life. He shows up on social media that way. So I admire that, right? He's real everywhere he goes. So I really enjoyed hearing Cody speak, and he dropped a ton of value in Instagram and social media domination, which will lead me to my next takeaway. Every speaker really seemed to bring up two things: social media, your brand, and also AI, artificial intelligence, or ChatGPT. If you're not moving towards that, you're going to be left behind, guys. Mark my word. I had the chance to just be in an Uber on the way from the airport to the hotel conference center before I connected with my buddy Tanner. And I was talking with the Uber driver there because as I pulled into Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, there's these new driverless taxis called Waymo. There's these new driverless taxis called Waymo, and they're buzzing around the airport and the vicinity around the airport without a driver. And it caused me to think how recent Uber came to the market and how soon Uber is going to be exiting the market because these driverless cars are all over Phoenix. Absolutely incredible. Blew my mind. They're fast. They're efficient. People are getting in and out of them. It's like going into a Jetsons scene growing up, having watched the Jetsons there around the airport with these driverless cars. I digress a little bit, but technology is changing so fast. If you're not building a personal brand, then what do you have at the end of the day? Because chances are the business that you're in right now is going to shift, change, or go away in the coming years. But if you're building a personal brand, you will be sellable. You will be an attractive character for others to engage with. And really, at the end of the day, I love building a personal brand. I love the opportunity to keep trying to speak and to be an orator of words for the purpose of who I become in the process. It's who you become that ultimately is why we're in business and why we're here on earth, is to become a better version of ourselves. The second side of social media is really drilling in and nailing who do you serve. If you can figure out who you're going to become because you're speaking, because you're going after something, and you can serve, well, at the end of all of that, that's a fulfilled life. And so there's a couple of takeaways with you with social media. Also, artificial intelligence. We see what's already happening with big new industries and assets like Uber that are now changing to driverless cars. Well, AI is changing the landscape of business completely. So we had a chance to go through some exercises, to do some engagements, to be able to do some business projections, and to take our education and our learning of ChatGPT, or what's now quickly becoming Gronk 3 is the new thing, or whether it's Gemini or whatever it is, AI needs to be part of your business. If you're concerned about it, then learn to become less concerned about it so that you don't become obsolete. Now, if you're fearful, like we have been with a lot of new technology that's come out, I remember the internet kind of coming out as I was growing up, and oh my goodness, what is this going to do? This is going to open up the world, and we're going to have a lot of the devil or Satan or other influences come into us. Same thing happened with social media. Well, guess what? Same thing will happen with artificial intelligence. But here's the one thing that I can say right now is that it is response generated. So you can learn to put in inputs to allow it to be your thought leader. You can put in the influence to allow it to work for you. And as you do that, you will be able to expand. The Uber driver that picked me up that I was just mentioning, he is in the underwater groundwater projection industry. And he was sharing with me how wrong it's been over his career. And the projections have been wrong. But he's right now driving Uber so that he can learn to do inputs into artificial intelligence, inputs into ChatGPT or artificial intelligence projections, and get better results on the other side of it. So his job has been these projections. He quit his job driving Uber to pursue the next phase of his career. which is using AI to do better, more realistic, and quicker projections for what's happening with our underground water. Super, super inspiring, because he knows that if he doesn't adapt, his job's going to go away and it's going to be replaced by AI. But he wants to be leading that by being the person that's putting in the inputs and putting in the responses to be able to get information from ChatGPT, from this artificial intelligence, from AI. So I encourage you to look into that in your industry and see that I think many people are going to be without a job very, very soon. And you know this to be true because as you go around to hotels, you go around to fast food, you see kiosks, you see robots that are running around, and it's going to change the landscape of business. I will restate my last takeaway here as we wrap this up. Be in the rooms, guys. Rub shoulders, expand your mindset, expand what's possible. As I reflect back on my early 20s going into network marketing rooms, it was there that I began to have bigger visions for my life. I can remember just a few years later in my mid-20s getting married, and my wife and I would go around to the parade of homes, and we would see these 2,000 square foot houses. We would see these 3-car garages. We would see these things that felt completely unobtainable to us at the time. Now I look back on my life, having been married over 2 decades, and the home that we live in, the garage space that we have, the vehicles, the toys, the things that I always felt like I wanted to chase and to have for adventure, for excitement, for building a life. You know, those things are all possible because the mind expanded, because I was in the room. I also believe that your network is your net worth. And so rubbing shoulders with incredible individuals all over the place on these breakout sessions, on these lunch breaks, dinner breaks, networking events, these individuals are the individuals that end up impacting your life later on. And it might be a decade before you see them again at another event. But you combine that with the power of social media and staying connected over periods of time. It allowed me to pick up the phone and to land at my buddy Tanner's house. And it's been years since we've seen each other, be able to reconnect and be able to share values and be able to share goals as a family and things that we're looking forward to in business and in life. And it's because of social media. It's because of being in the room, and it's because of networking and putting yourself out there. And so if you're like me and you're that person that's just been a lifetime of uncomfortableness of going into the room, maybe because of a past emotion that you're carrying, you know, past trauma, post-traumatic stress syndrome of an event that took place in life, that's me. That was me in high school, being a new high school student. And that's still me today, walking into rooms where hundreds of millions of dollars are being raised. But I wrap up the event. I wrap up that time away from my family. I wrap up that uncomfortableness, finding so much value in who I become and who I'm going to serve in the future because I'm choosing to lean in to try things on. I didn't know at the end of this event if it was going to be worth the $700 and the time away, but it's always ends up being worth it. It's always hard, but it always ends up being worth it because of that, who I become, and because I get to learn more about who I can serve and expand my network and just get a little bit more uncomfortable to overcome some of that emotion that I'm still carrying today. So that's my takeaway. If you guys want to hear more, or you want to lean in, or if you want to get more one-on-one with me, hit me up in the DMs. We can have deeper conversations about what your goals are and dive deep into what your plans are for the rest of 2025 and the future.